Hello, everybody! It is Rocco, your boy, coming at you once again with another Age of Sigmar video. Now, you may be asking, why am I not on screen and why do I have my little icon up in the corner? That is because today's video is going to be about Mathhammer a bit. Something that I have been on record as saying it is a tool. It is not going to be the, oh, if I do the math right, I'm going to instantly win games. No. It is a tool where you use it to know like what your units and their damage output can be and how to work with that. And when you're list building, this kind of stuff gets very important because I had a question asked to me. I did not get a chance to actually ask if I could use their name, so I won't. But if they want to come in the comments and claim this, I'm very happy for it because this is an amazing question. The question is -1 the same to be hit as -1 to be wounded and the same as +1 to save? Like, how do wards affect survivability and affect wounds and damage needed to lift models? Just some raw, down and dirty Mathhammer. And I am happy to oblige. One of my favorite tools, websites to do this on is this AOS Stats Hammer provided by Facehammer. The app, the website's up here, but I will happily, love the Stats Hammer bit, we'll post the link in the description of the video so you can run all the simulations of everything you want. And I do have a wonderful bunch of charts and damage and profiles and things here. It's a lot of information right now, but just follow me here. Because it was a very interesting question that boils down to how much do these modifiers actually matter? And what's better? +1 to hit, +1 to wound. Some things cancel out. What do we do here? What about exploding 6s to hit? What about rerolling 1? Shout out to rerolling 1s, the YouTube channel. What are we doing here when we're trying to make all of these synergies and I'm bringing all these heroes to bring all these buffs or debuffs and what have you? So, what I've done here, I have 5 profiles here. And I'm calling them all the Elite Infantry profile. This is usually, elite might be in air quotes, depends on the army. But this could be a unit of 10 models. Each one gets 2 attacks. The champion gets an extra. Hits on 3s, wounds on 3s. And we're going to change this to be Ren 1, 1 damage. Alright. It's a great profile. It's what you want for your good fighting unit to be. If you have a horde infantry, you could be hitting on 4s and wounding on 4s, or maybe even it's 5s and 5s, and you get bonuses to, hit better if you're in a horde with so many models in the unit. But this is the profile that everyone dreams to have in their army to go rush out and beat the snot out of something. Alright? And then we have throughout here different debuffs. -1 for that unit to hit. -1 to to wound. +1 to hit. +1 to wound. Just to show you some things here based off of this. And we can manipulate it as such. To the right here, you can see the average damage table, which shows us if they're on a 2-up save, 3-up, 4-up, 5-up, 6, or no save at all, what should the damage be? And again, it shows us in a nice little layout, and if you like bar graphs, which I'm a huge fan of, we got colors, it's beautiful. But let's actually break down what this means here. Our normal infantry unit probably goes into another opposing unit that has a base save of a 4-up. Right? Those are very common in Age of Sigmar right now. That would mean, with their -1 rend, assuming no all-out defense can take place, we're actually looking at what damage they do to a 5-up save. So, a unit with 21 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s when you go and do everything out here, base, should probably do around 8 damage. Again, sometimes you'll hit the full 8 because we're working with whole numbers in real life. Sometimes it'll be 7. But this basic profile, which honestly isn't much to even sneeze at, is still nice. Um, but it's only I'm saying only if it's going against an equal unit here. They're killing 7 or 8 people out of the 10-person unit. Wonderful trade. Then we can see what happens if there is an all-out defense. And it is a noticeable difference. Again, we go from clearing 8 damage to barely getting over 6. And I would even say with the numbers round up to the nearest whole number, unless you're under the half percentage. Because we're messing with percentages here in statistics. So this is, follow me, camera guy, alright? And as we get to better saves, this elite infantry unit all of a sudden doesn't really pass the muster here. And how do we make this better for us? Well, if we do have buffs even for additional rend, we can see on this chart, we turn a 2-up save to a 4-up save. That's twice as much damage that we're probably getting through here with all of our attacks. Which is a really cool debuff, and we can see that it really does matter. There is a reason why you keep hearing about people save stacking and save stacking and save stacking to go and make sure their units can live and survive. I'm throwing Mystic Shield, all out defense, and blah 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 blah. I'm in cover for +1 to save. Here we are, seeing it right there. But what happens when we start putting some debuffs on? We have -1 to hit. That's a pretty common debuff. Sometimes there's sub-factions, like in Daughters of Cain had a sub-faction for a very long time that you were just -1 to hit them in shooting. You have, like, Locusts from, I think they might have just been -1 to hit at one point, too. It's scary. Tzeentch Demons, Tzeentch Greater Demons give out a Locust of -1 to hit demon units if they're within range of that. You could see how this just affects it right here, in that the maximum damage we could ever even do drops off by 2. And again, we're saying 10 wounds fully kills the other unit. It's a 10-on-10 fight. We strike first. Here we are. Even then, killing 7 to 8 of them in a combat round is amazing. Because they will not, math-wise, be able to do as much onto us. We will have won the combat. If they don't have a command point for an inspiring presence, they're fleeing and running away. And we've won. That's great. But -1 to hit does do a sizable amount to us. Then we go to -1 to wound. And again, we have a wonderful chart here that, again, I can hover over and see the numbers for more visual aid. And we're seeing all things remaining. So if it's still a 3-up to hit and it's -1 to wound, the math actually comes out to be the same as -1 to hit. So we can see -1 to one stat, but not the other. We're just grateful for them to be -1 to something at this point. And I would also like to point out, there are many ways in many army books to get -1 to hit. -1 to wound is not as common. But if you can combine them together, you're going to have a wonderful time. I would even say, with this example, if you were attacking something like the Free Guild Marshal on Griffin, if you gave them the command trait where you can only wound them on a 4-up, right? That would be something like this. Without having to throw out, say, Word of Pain from a sorceress, just the -1 to wound, we could see that debuff in action being huge, where they can only wound on a 4-up, as shown by our -1 to wound on the middle left of your screen there, if you're following my mouse along. And it, again, a debuff works great. We just need to get at least one of them, and then this damage goes from a fight, if it's elite infantry on elite infantry, a fight we win handedly, to probably half of them are left, and then we're having more of a slugfest, and it comes down to how good do I actually roll compared to what's the simulated number here. And we could also see if we have a +1 to hit or a +1 to wound. Again, it's just 1+, but if we could find it somewhere, that's going to help us out. And again, pluses to hit can be common as an all-out attack. And you can see the value here. Our maximum damage we could ever do in this, if there's no save, jumps out to 11.5. You know, that fully clears. If we're fighting someone with a 4-up save with our -1 rend, 9.72, that means we should, in a combat with +1 to hit, just kill the other unit. Leave them with maybe a model, depending on if they spike their saves or not. And more realistically, we're killing 6 to 8 models out of this. If the other side has save stacking around. But the thing is, that is still very impressive. Because if it's a 10-on-10 fight and we still kill 6 of them, that was our more likely outcome with -1 to hit them. That was our perfect outcome if they had +1 to save. So +1 to hit is a humongous buff if you can get it through. And again, +1 to wound again, as long as something is +1 to wound, that's good. But let's go with +1 to hit here. We're gonna modify this also as if we also could get a +1 to wound, because why not? And again, 2s and 2s, if you've ever played anyone that has like Daughters of Cain or Deepkin, it just feels like that damage is just automatic in everything it does. And I'm even going to do this live. +1 to hit and wound. Well, you're not going crazy. If you can pair up these buffs as much as pairing the debuffs up are going to go, you can just see this swing in the maximum damage output likely. Here being this chart of the average damage compared to this one being by the average damage table to the different saves. Again, same thing, different format. But all of a sudden, we go from doing, on a 4-up, maybe killing a bit more than half the unit to we should just kill it. And this is why people will, again, prioritize units that hit and wound on 3s if they can throw on these buffs to their own stuff. And why making sure in your army you have these debuffs to go around here and say, hey, no, I really need to make sure that we just stop this output. Because the difference between, half my models and all my models in my unit dying is horrible. And then we're going to go and throw in another thing too, because the thing was asked about wards. So again, remember all this damage. Just throwing in the stereotypical death 6-up ward save, right? Ability to ignore damage that's gone through on 6s, also known as a feel no pain. And our output, while still good, does noticeably go down. And it may seem like, yeah, of course it would, but just the percent of it, just on 6s here. And we go from spiking our damage to maybe 14, 15 to 12. And then just our regular elite infantry profile of 3s and 3s, again, probably hitting on a 4-up save. We go from comfortably killing enough of the enemy unit that will probably live to we've killed maybe half of it, and that hitback's gonna hurt, especially if dice on my side don't go the way I want them to. Because again, the point of this is it's the averages. It's what's most likely to happen. But we're playing a dice game when we play any Warhammer game, anything from Games Workshop, anything in the Warhammer universes, sci-fi, AOS, fantasy, whatever. So it's a good thing to keep in mind when making lists and when picking armies and what your playstyle is. That one, these things do work. And they also do work too when you're using them. But then the question comes into, how do we go in with our list building and try to go and make more use of this? Well, we've done videos on it before, but just to really hit this point home too, usually you're looking for those little foot heroes that are wizards that can go into your spell lore, that can go and give out command abilities to issue these different things. And yes, you cannot have a unit in the combat phase except more than one command. That's just not possible in the way the rules are written currently. You can't have all-out attack and all-out defense. But different heroes can sometimes give out auras. Sometimes you can put a spell on in the hero phase, and then in the combat phase, all-out attack. Maybe you're like, wow, I've been really stretched for command points doing all of this. Because, again, an all-out defense going from a 4-up save to a 3-up save, all of a sudden I go from losing half my unit to 4 out of 10 there. It's 2/5. I can actually fight back, and, as long as I have a shot to roll dice, I have a chance. And, that's the cool part about all of this, is that it's a lovely tool that we can go and see how this all works out. And a wonderful website. Just play around with it yourself. What I want you to do, a little bit of, I'm not going to say homework, but if you do want to be a better player, this is one way to visualize it. So it's not just like, oh, cool, I rolled bad, and Unit X just sucks, right? Actually, let's just clear all that. And we're going to go and put in, for this profile, let's go do Shelly Baby Girl. Right? What does an Ideneth Deepkin Turtle actually do here? We'll do this live. Because, again, I think it's interesting. Let me pull up the War Scroll really quick here. Doing it live. The lovely turtle. Well, for starters, we've got the shooting, which is 8 harpoon attacks. 3s and 3s, neg 1. It's going to be D3 damage. D3. So that's going to, honestly, let's say it's 2 for the sake of the math that's going to pop out of here. Again, because we're looking for averages on the dice on an average thing. I don't honestly remember if this thing can actually handle D3s. But we've got 2 crushing jaw attacks that hit on 2s natively. Wound on... Okay, to start, full profile here. They do wound on 2s. I'm even going to go out and say, let's do this in my favorite sub-faction of Nautilus, where we have neg 3 rend here. We've got mortal wounds on a 6 to hit. Don't do them in addition. It's 3 mortal wounds. Wonderful. That's the bite. Then we're going to go in here and do the fins, which have 4 attacks. Right, they hit on a 2, wound on a 3. And again, we're not a Lar, so we're going to be 3 rend. And starting off, we're actually at 4 damage. And just looking at what Shelly does throughout what will be a combat of I get to shoot the unit and then beat the snot out of them. In a full turn, I should be able to expect my turtle to do, again, against an average 3-up save. If they're save stacking doing crazy stuff, a lot. Actually, you know what? We're going to go out and change this to be the crew. You know what? Let's just do that. Let's keep this nice and easy here. Say the turtle in melee. Have a fun time with it. Now, this is every profile for melee in the turtle. The crew do not get the benefit of the rend. I put my turtle into combat. I should be able to expect, without the ward save, a lot of good things. My turtle should be making things with its -3 rend somewhere around a 5-up save. Maybe a 6-up. Again, the incidental... Let's say this is crew. Yeah, doing this live here. The crew, the bite, the fins. I should be doing my maximum damage pretty early on of about 15. And at 400 points for a monster, that makes sense. And I should probably plink off 4 or 5 wounds with my D3 profile anyway. Now, if Shelly were to run into something that did take down these wonderful to-wound rolls, I would be devastated. My opponent would not. And just to emphasize, we'll do this as the 6. Again, just saying the to-wound here. And then this goes to be 2s, wounds on 4s, 2 attacks. Modifier is mortal wounds on the hit characteristic, unmodified. Rend 3. Damage 3. And then adding our profile for the fins here of 4 attacks. It would be a 2 to hit, but a 4 to wound. Travesty, I know. But just looking at the graphic here, again, it's like a quarter of my damage just falls off into the abyss. And you can also use a tool like this to be like, well, what do I want my turtle to fight? Because even her maximum damage potential just drops by 4. And that's the beauty of these debuffs, is as long as you get one of them on there, and I have no way to put it back with an all-out attack, or say a Lotan aura. I didn't bring Lotan to give me +1 to wounded melee. Well, my 400-point monster is starting to feel like it's going to kind of suck. Will it still kill a 10-man unit of schmucks? Yeah, if it's like a 10-wound thing, yes, I will be able to lift it. If there's more than that, I am floundering. If it's another monster, I am dueling. All of a sudden, it goes from like, this like I went from like I can almost like a third of the way kill a Mega Gargant to because I'd be at -3 rend, so that's nice. To oh no, The thing that should have been like, yeah, I could finish it off is not helping. But yeah, I want you to go around and this website and see what your units you keep bringing are supposed to do. Because I've had games where this turtle has hit and wounded everything, and my opponent made every save, even at the neg 3 Ren profiles, and I was just like, dang. And I had games where it's like, no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't make a ward save. So, when it comes to something like this, it's something that can, like, reset your expectations and shows you what should probably happen and allow you to make decisions from there. So, if you like this talk about Mathhammer, like, subscribe, leave a comment if you got more questions you want me to go and answer. Be nice, roll some dice, and see you next time. Bye.